Hey y'all, it's Michael. So, the next short story collection that I'm going to be doing a review on is The World Doesn't Require You by Rion, Amilcar Scott. I don't really have any idea what this is about, but I just picked it up from the library, and so I thought I decided to read it. What I'll do is after each and every single short story, I'll let y'all know what I think about them, and then at the end, I'll do a collective overall thoughts. So yeah, let's go. So I just finished reading the first short story called David Sherman, the Last Son of God. Um, wow. What a way to start the collection. I don't know. I think I'm in for a wild ride because that first short story definitely made an impression, if anything. This is about David Sherman, who is the last son of God. Apparently, in here, God um had different sons, like 12 of them, and then we're following his youngest son named David. This I thought was really interesting, but it was like all over the place. I think I need to contemplate more about it, which is a good thing, but also it's just like, what is going on? Yeah, so uh, this was what a wild first short story. I love the way that Scott has allusions and like connections on how the church and God and Christ is perceived. Looking through at it through that lens, I thought it was really interesting way to think about it. So in that regard, it's really interesting. But I think I really need time to contemplate with this short story because it was wild. I was like, what? Whoa! I finished the next short story. It's called The N-Word Knockers with a hard ER on this one. This. So this is the second short story in this collection. It's already gonna be wild. I can already feel it. So this is about Tyrone and Dees. Tyrone comes up with this dissertation for his paper about it's called the N-word knockers. When black people were enslaved, basically they would knock on it was like a way of that knock knock joke and where that comes from. Because also before black people used to knock on like doors, and then when people go answer the door, they would be able to like take things and whatnot. Like according to his dissertation, that was part of like the Underground Railroad and whatnot. Now, I don't know how true it is, but it seems very plausible, if anything. The thing though is, so they decide to put this to a test, and so this is in modern times, and they decide to basically go around and knock on people's door and see what happens, to see if this theory is actually is basically ding dong ditch, and basically it keeps escalating, and they essentially end up in this affluent white neighborhood, and we all know how this ends up, and it was heartbreaking. Especially there's a part in here where I was like, damn. Just even the two short stories, I can just tell like Scott is like, the ideas are really interesting. Like it's a wild ride of a short story collection. And it's exciting, if anything. Like just from a writing standpoint, it's really exciting to see where Scott's gonna go. So I finished the next two short stories. The first one is called The Electric Droid of Service. This I thought was actually really interesting. This is like really short though. Like it's only 5 pages. But I think it gets its message across incredibly fast. And the way it's written, it has this like fast, in your face type of writing. I really enjoyed it. It's like this future where this gentleman creates a robot, but he targets it as a slave. It is really interesting. The next one is called The Temple of Practical Arts. Now this I wasn't the biggest fan of it. First off, I think it's too long. I think it drags out. The way that Scott talks about religion and how this group of people find religion, well, it's, without giving too much away, yeah, essentially that's what it is. I think it is really cool the way that Scott decides to use and choose like certain terms and have these like allusions, these references, these like double meanings, these entendres. Like I think that was really good. The part that I think didn't work out too well was in the middle. I just think there's some parts where it could have been cut out because I think it dragged. It felt like it was dragging as I was reading along. I was like, this is a little bit. And the ending is what you would expect if you already know the references that this is making, if that makes any sense. But now I finished the next two short stories. The first one was really short. It's called A Rare and Powerful Employee. This one's about a guy who has this seminar called The War on Rape. It was really short, and it's obvious that he doesn't really care, if that makes any sense. Yeah. The next one was called Numbers. This was really interesting. Okay, so one thing that I have noticed is I wish there were quotation marks. It's just a personal preference for me. I'm gonna keep saying it probably throughout this whole video, but I just really like it when authors use quotation marks. An author wouldn't use quotation marks because it has a sense of like fluidity to it. But I just personally, me as a reader, I just personally enjoy them. About the woes, which are kind of like sirens, I guess you could say. They're women from an island that like pops up and lures men. So yeah, similar to a siren, but this has like a very interesting turn to it because it's actually dealing with a crime syndicate, if that makes any sense. It's written in a way where things are not explained, but it is explained because it's written in a way where it's like a runaround, if that makes any sense. The imagery that Scott uses, I really like it. And it has this magical, fantastical sense to it. It felt a little loosey-goosey. It seems sporadic in the way of its storytelling. Like it's just like it's just going everywhere. I'm thinking that's the goal of the stories. It's not holding the hand of the reader, which is like fun. As a reader, I love that. Like I know some people don't like it, but I love that. Like it's just like, here you go, 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 go. Alright, I finished the next two short stories. The first one is called A Loudness of Screechers. This is like a playoff of The Birds by Hitchcock. It wasn't that bad. It's really short. Yeah, it has like a kind of like a twist to it, I guess you could say, if you've seen that movie. Yeah, I don't have that much thoughts about it. I mean, it's really short. The next one, okay, so this one is called Mercury in Retrograde. So these stories are connecting. Basically follow the robot that is mentioned there. And so this is giving me like Adam and Eve vibes, like creation vibes, just that type of vibes. Fahrenheit 451, if you know how the ending goes on that one. I don't know what to think about it so far because I feel as though we're gonna get one of these stories coming up. I feel as though we might get a continuation. So that part of the story feels like it's like the middle because there's I don't know if there's something that's gonna happen at the end. But it's basically about how the revolution with the robots happened. It's for sure that Scott is making allusions and connections about how black people, especially with this previous short story, how black people have like history in connection with like colonization or just like even now. It's very interesting. So yeah, I'm gonna hold off my reservation about how I feel about this because then I want to see how it connects if Scott makes some sort of reference. I read the next two short stories. Now I am gonna say, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say these stories are connected. Yeah, they're connected. So anyways, the next one is called On the Occasion of the Death of Freddie Lee. This was really short. Again, I think these are connected or some sort of, there's something going on, okay? Rice field workers who find the body of Freddie Lee. So yeah. It's really short. The next one is called Slim in Hell. Okay, so this goes, I don't know how to feel about it yet. And I'm getting that from a lot of the stories. Like I think it's one of those things where, how did I feel about that? If anything, a lot of these stories are very unpredictable. That's the vibes I'm getting from all of them actually. They have this unpredictability that's fun to read, that makes any sense, but it's also like, whoa, like it's almost shocking to the point, especially in this one. This one's about Slim, who is a this is hard to get try not to, who's a musician, and he doesn't do nice things basically. How was this written? Because I could have sworn I heard of this story like in real life before, as if it was like in the news, because it has very similar beats to a real life situation that I saw on the news. I finished the next short story. It's called Rolling in My Six Foe, da da da, with all my N words saying swing down sweet Cheerio stop and let me ride. Hell yeah. This was, I wouldn't say the most bizarre one, but yeah. It starts off with this man named Rick who who's in a car and they're going somewhere without giving too much away. They're going somewhere, and the man driving the car is called James my man, like a pimp named Slickback. You got to say the whole thing, so his name is James my man. This was a lot. Like this story is a lot. I do have to give it credit though because the ending does pull everything together, like in the end, but the journey to get to the end, I don't. It's like there's a lot. First off, there's a lot going on, okay, and it has so many references. Story remind me so much, and it might be a reference, but I could have sworn there is a Nella Larson short story that is very similar to this. Like, I was like, this seems. I felt like I've experienced this before, but I don't know if that's just me. It was a ride. Now the next one, it looks like it's long. Like it's a long part of the short story collection because it looks like it's going to be 4 short stories combined. So it might be like a novella type of situation because it's literally like the rest of the books. Alright y'all, so I finally finished the last short story on here called Special Topics and Loneliness Studies. This one was really long. It's essentially a novella because it's over like 150 pages. If anything, this I think ties up everything, and my theory was correct that these stories are connected. They're connected without giving too much away. This novella, it was really interesting. It's about essentially 2 professors. One is teaching a course and the other one is talking about what happened when Dr. Chambers, the one who is teaching the course, was teaching the course, because it's almost like a flashback. This has like a really cool format. It's told in university emails. It also has this like in the middle where there's a whole slideshow, like a PowerPoint about loneliness, because that's all it talks about is essentially loneliness. Also like pictures and whatnot, and just the way it approaches this story of loneliness is really interesting. Now here's the thing, there are parts in here that I just didn't like. The point blank period I didn't like. Now, since this is like told in a school setting, essentially like it's a university, this brought back memories of when I was in college, and I just remember not liking. I just remember not liking certain things. Now, and also like part of the story in here is actually like the syllabus. Now, I ain't gonna lie, in some classes, I just skimmed the syllabus, okay? Point blank period. You have to read the whole syllabus because it's part of the story. I mean, I was just like, And then, because Dr. Chambers is also talking about loneliness and relationship to why he got caught having porn on his phone, and he said he's writing an essay, so we had to read like the rough draft of the essay. And I'm not gonna lie, it is, in my opinion, I think it's malarkey. If I were to read it and grade it, I'd have been like, this seems fake. This seems outrageous. It seems like over the top, like the students' essays, and I just like, it's, to me, it had parts in here about the college experience, like I just was like, I'm not grooving with this. I understand that's the cool thing about this though, is I understand the point of view of like what it was trying to say about this loneliness. There's also, I would have to say, there's also like arguments and then counter arguments about this theme of loneliness, and it's like pushing back and forth, especially about like with the students and the teacher. I did like that, but overall, I'm not gonna lie, I was just like, at the end of this, I was just like, did it tie everything up? Yes, but in my opinion, I don't think it wasn't my favorite. So let me talk to you about the collection overall. Overall, I actually thought this is, if anything, I think this is one of the wildest, most ambitious short story collection I have read in a really long time. I think the writing, that's the most I enjoyed about it, is this unpredictable, like it's so unpredictable, and what it is, the themes that it's presenting and whatnot, and just like the audacity just the audacity and the boldness that Scott approaches these stories and the themes. So I really commend him for that. Um, would this be in my favorite collection short story collections? I would have to say, oh, it's iffy. I wouldn't put it up there in my favorites like right away. But I think this is one of those short story collections where I think it is worth a try because it is so ambitious. It is so bold. It's really out there. Like this is one of the things that I love most about short stories is the ability to experiment, and just push the boundaries of storytelling and writing. And I think that this does that. I think for me, what I don't exactly like get along with per se, is that I just wasn't for along for the ride. Like that last short story, well, the novella, I just wasn't like I'll go with you, but I was just like, okay, I'm just okay. So. And I never felt that moment of like a short story in here where I was just like, wow, please read this. It's worth, if you are slightly interested at all, I think it's worth the go at it because just the boldness, I really admire just the creativity and the boldness. I just didn't get along with some of the short stories. If you read any of the short stories or read the short story collection, let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts. Until then, I'll see you till next time. Bye.